Special Project 2, CST 373, Intercultural Communication, Sherilyn Goldammer, spring of 2017. Nonverbal Actions, a Reflection on the Japanese Culture. In the book, What is Cultural Intelligence?, written by Christopher Early and Soon Ong, we learn the definition of cultural intelligence, and I'm going to quote. People with high cultural intelligence are attuned to the values, beliefs, attitudes, and body language of people from different cultures, and they use this knowledge to interact with empathy and understanding. People with high cultural intelligence are not experts in every culture. Rather, they use observation, empathy, and intelligence to read people and situations and to make informed decisions about why others are acting as they are. Let's take an opportunity to develop our cultural intelligence today and reflect on the nonverbal actions of the Japanese. 3 things today. First one, how to read the body language typically sent by the Japanese culture. Number 2, how is time viewed in Japan? And how can we interact with the Japanese in an informed, empathetic, and intelligent manner? So let's dig in. How does this culture display messages of the body? Well, let's talk first about something as simple as gestures. The sign OK in North America is something completely different in Japan. It means money or coins. If I'm flagging for a waiter at a restaurant in America, I've just been very rude in Japan. If I'm showing you the number 4 in America, I've actually really been very offensive in Japan. And one of the universal signs of thumbs up, okay, hitchhike, everything's good, in Japan actually means man or the number 5. Simple things, right? Touching, handshakes, kissing, and bear hugs, all familiar to us, are considered impolite by the Japanese. In Japan, people bow on the first meeting. The person with the highest status bows the least, and the one with the least status bows the most. The deeper you bow, the more respect that you are showing. So we've talked about gestures, and we've talked about the touching. Now we're going to look at eye contact. The same is true for eye contact. Japanese are actually embarrassed by another stare, and if you must, seek eye contact only at the beginning of a conversation. After that, the Japanese really listen with nods and polite noises. Overall, this will come off as very passive. However, this nonverbal communication is encouraging you to continue, but does not necessarily mean that they agree with you. So nodding the head yes in Japan is a sign of politeness. In other words, I heard you, but it doesn't mean I agree with you. In fact, also be aware of something quite significant, and that is the Japanese will lower their heads completely as you're speaking, and it is a sign of total attention to the speaker and listening to what you are saying. Voice and speech. In a high-context culture such as Japan, words are de-emphasized and nonverbal cues become essential in understanding the ability to communicate. While this does reduce the need to learn the language, it does increase the need to be highly aware of those nonverbal cultural cues. Silence is viewed as a time frame when people can think about what's being communicated and understand the concept behind the idea and comment. The Japanese tend to speak in clusters and speak quite quickly. One interesting thing about the voice is speaking loudly is a sign that you've lost control. Personal space and etiquette. Considering it's cold and flu season, you might be interested to know that blowing your nose in Japan is considered disgusting. For the Japanese, spitting and snorting are the norm. In addition, the Japanese see the English custom of men wearing a handkerchief in their jacket pocket equivalent to a proud dangling of a roll of toilet paper from their pocket. If you're going to give gifts, these are meaningful for the Japanese. However, you should give it in items of odd numbers and not in the quantity of 9. Your gift will not be opened when it is received. The Japanese value shared space. This is a reflection of their collective culture. They believe in the importance of group and working together. For the Japanese, polychronic time reinforces this belief of the collectiveness and the human transactions and relationships that are derived from that. Schedules come second, but are accommodated certainly in business, in particular dealing with Western cultures. So lastly, how does a person from an alternate culture best communicate with the Japanese culture? An example could be thinking about this in a way of strategy, a strategy component of cultural intelligence. Thinking about what's most important and then asking why. So taking my assumption and then asking why. And from that, considering what did I learn from that? And then how do I use this to carefully plan and successfully implement my interactions? This why component was also in the book of Cultural Intelligence that we mentioned earlier. And specifically, the authors share a technique called the 5 whys to get to the heart of what you are seeing or hearing. So in other words, if you have an assumption that you've heard, that you know to be true, that you've determined is true, then you ask why, and that will help you delve deeper. So the examples they shared was, imagine that you have a colleague in Japan, and they send a polite reply to your email that you've asked to do something, but they don't start the task. Why? Your Japanese colleague may consider that no is impolite. Why? This is part of their cultural heritage, which also applies to the business environment. Why? When you consider the whys that you ask, you can reflect on the facts such as Japan's traditions have developed over thousands of years and are deeply rooted in people's daily lives, including the workplace. In addition, Japanese workers tend to identify strongly with their employers and are unlikely to do something that would cause offense to any colleague or manager. No matter the situation, I think the use of the 5 whys and then keeping a diary of cultural observations could assist in solving challenges and increasing the positive interaction and outcome with the Japanese culture. Well, thank you for taking the opportunity to develop your Japanese cultural intelligence with me, and specifically reflecting on the nonverbal actions of this culture, how to read their body language, how they use time or believe time to be used, and how we can interact with the Japanese in an informed, empathetic, and intelligent manner. Remember, harmony is a key value in Japan society, and it's really a guiding philosophy in personal and professional settings. Being cooperative with others and saving face are crucial for children and adults alike. Differences in nonverbal communication can be attributed to Japan's high context, masculine, risk-averse, and hierarchical culture. While there are over 700,000 forms of body language that make up nonverbal communication in this world, we would benefit in remembering the quote by Bernard Baruch. "We didn't all come over on the same ship, but we are all in the same boat." End quote. Thank you very much for discovering the Japanese culture with me today. Have a great day.